Death and Dementia video 21. I mentioned last one that Mike Wentling's company was going to start helping out, and they're actually there right now for the first time. So with Mike, I'll put his website up again on the notes on this one. It took just a couple days, and part of the delay for that even was me to get the paperwork done and get it sent off to Mike, and then he found one of his employees who was going to take over the schedule, and they're going to be going 3 times a week to get mom and dad out of the facility for a walk like they've been doing for years. So hopefully this is going to be a good thing. We don't know. And then I ended up talking to one of Mike's managers, and who called me for kind of an intro, and I hadn't talked to her on the phone before. And what I explained to her is, Dad's gets upset sometimes, not often, but he does. That's why they're separated. And mom's the same thing, and can get kind of moody now, which is a big change. And before I could really finish, she told me, she goes, all of our people are experiencing this, and we'll let you know that there's any problems, but we'll be able to handle anything. And so maybe feel really comfortable. I'll update you next time on how it went, because like I said, they're out there with them right now for the first time. So where we've come in just a couple few months, and it was just a couple few months ago, mom was able to bring dad outside the facility and go on walks on their own. He couldn't go by himself. Um, and it was only a few months ago where mom could, not all the time, but often keep a decent conversation, at least something that you can follow, and at the end of the conversation understand what the hell you talked about. And like I said, just a few months and that's gone. And they have to be escorted out. Conversations, conversations with dad, and it's been like this for a while. You just kind of have to play along with wherever his mind might be at the time. And I mentioned, I think, um, if he recognizes me, great. I'll talk to him like his son. I'd say 99% of the time he doesn't know who I am. And so I talk to him like an old friend, because he usually thinks I'm a friend from the 50s. And so the first minute or so, you have to kind of figure out who you are to him, and then go with the conversation. And he's always pleasant. Well, I should say always, mostly pleasant. And you just kind of have to figure out where you fit into his brain at the time. And it's unfortunate. Now, mom, like I said, it's the downhill on her is just accelerating, and uh, she does recognize my brother and I when we go to see her, but the conversations now are there's really no meaning. In her head, you can tell that she wants to explain something to you, and once in a while you can, if you know enough about her life, and that's, if you end up in this situation, you have to know what they do every day, and know their appointments, know their aches and pains, and then as long as you're really familiar with them currently, then you can figure out a lot of these things that they're talking about, but their words aren't going to come out. They don't come out. One half a sentence will be about one thing, and then it transitions, and it's really hard to follow. It's sad to watch, but that's where we are now, and it just didn't take very long for this step. The process itself has been, obviously a couple of years, but these big steps coming up here are hard to catch up with, and it's hard to, as soon as you kind of think you have an understanding for how you're going to deal with them, you have to come up with a new understanding, because it's a whole new ball game. Another thing I mentioned before is well-intended people who fuck things up, and now what we're kind of running into, that mom and dad are separated, and they are well-intended, I guess, for the most part. But think about it: mom and dad are in a facility for old people who have cognitive issues, whether it's dementia, Alzheimer's, or just they're freaking old and they're not remembering shit. And not everyone with dementia, obviously, is in memory care. Where Dad is, it's only when you get to a certain point. And so Mom goes out in the halls now, and over each day, these people who knew Dad, and where's your husband? And Mom has to. Sometimes she remembers she has a husband. And then sometimes when she remembers she has a husband, she doesn't know who he is. She just knows that she has one and doesn't know where he is. And then they'll bring things up that, well, was he getting angry? Was he doing this? And well, why can't you be with him? And all these questions, and they come up every day, or sometimes a couple of times a day. And the people are well intended, and a lot of these people too, they have dementia, so they're just throwing out whatever their brain decides to put out of their mouth too, and generates more calls. So if you're like my brother and I, and you're the one that's getting those calls, that's when they start picking up. Is, well, why did the person down the hall tell me this? Why can't I be with your dad? And what's your dad look like? Do you have any pictures? And what do you do for a living? And are we still married? How long we've been in those things? And then there'll kind of be a lull. She'll go back down to get a meal or something like that, and then she'll come back up and, hey, why are these people asking about your father? He's not in the apartment. Am I married? And so it's kind of a continuous pain in the ass. But that's what you'll end up running into. Kind of that's where we are right now. I mentioned Mom and Dad's doctor before. Once again, extremely thankful that we have someone like her to take care of him. And we've been getting more and more of this. I mentioned Dad's cataract surgery recommendation, and the doctor's saying no. And now I mentioned Mom thinks she has stomach issues. I don't think it's real. And part of it is the staff was asking her every day, have you had a bowel movement, and how's your stomach feel? And I think a lot of that was putting it in her head that there's, holy shit, there must be a problem. Told the staff to stop doing that, and they did. And so now it comes up much, much less. But one of the doctors had recommended another procedure, and it comes down to she's probably not drinking enough water is what the doctor thinks. And having that good primary care doctor is amazing, because whatever these other doctors say, we always go straight to her. And, hey, what are your recommendations? And a lot of these things, she'll say, it's the dementia, it's in her head, she doesn't need this procedure. Or if it wasn't for the fact that she had dementia, this and that, yeah, we might do the procedure, but it's going to be something that in her condition she's probably not going to recover from. And so once again, having a good primary care doctor to put everything through is pretty huge. That's kind of all the updates I have right now. We'll talk about how the walks went on the next one. Until then, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thanks for watching. I'm hoping these videos are going to help somebody out there. Please look at the attachments to the videos. I've attached just the websites of some of the people who I speak to. And I've also attached my Amazon Associates links to some of the products that we've used for Mom and Dad, and some other things that look like they would be helpful for people in similar situations. God bless.